The church bells had once rung for them. On a cloudless spring morning 5 years ago, Amelia and Daniel stood beneath a floral arch in the garden of her grandmother's estate, sunlight dancing across their clasped hands. He had promised forever with a trembling voice. She had whispered, "I do," with tears of joy. The world had felt perfect, framed in white roses and silent prayers of every guest that they might never forget this feeling. But forever, she learned, is a fragile thing. It started subtly. Late work nights, missed calls, the smell of someone else's perfume clinging faintly to his shirt. Amelia told herself stories, logical ones. She trusted Daniel. Trust, after all, was the soil in which their marriage had been planted, until she saw the message. A simple vibration on his unlocked phone during dinner. She hadn't meant to look, but the screen glowed with a name she didn't recognize and a message that read, "Last night was perfect. I miss you already." The wine glass in her hand didn't fall. Her face didn't twist. She simply stared at him as he told her about a dull board meeting, his fork moving across his plate as if nothing had cracked between them. That night, she didn't cry. She walked barefoot to the piano in the sitting room, the one he had gifted her on their first anniversary, and played the melody from their wedding day. Soft and slow, each note a question she couldn't yet ask aloud. The confrontation came days later, after more truth leaked from his silences. His affair had begun with a colleague, Elise, someone who understood his ambition, he said, someone who didn't ask him to slow down, didn't get lost in nostalgia. "You changed," he had dared to say. Amelia laughed then, a short, bitter sound. "I changed? I paused my life for us. I believed in us." His silence had been the loudest betrayal. She left the house the next morning, not in a storm of fury, but in quiet, resolute grief, the kind that burned slowly. Their wedding photo stayed behind on the mantel, her veil catching sunlight, his smile unaware of the future he would fracture. In the weeks that followed, Amelia moved into a small apartment above a bookstore in the city. She took a job teaching piano to children. She grew used to the silence of her mornings and the ache that sometimes visited at night. Daniel reached out. Once, then twice. He wanted to talk, to explain, to apologize. But some apologies come too late. One rainy evening, months later, Amelia stood across the street from the garden where they had once married. A wedding was taking place. Different couple, different promises. She watched as the bride laughed, veil lifting in the wind, and for a moment Amelia felt that old ache swell. But she didn't envy them. She pitied them a little, because they didn't yet know what it meant to lose what you believed would never break. She turned and walked away, the rain soaking into her coat, not with bitterness, not even with regret, but with a quiet strength. Because even when vows are broken and hearts are shattered, some people learn how to piece themselves back together, note by note, step by step, until the music returns. Daniel hadn't touched the piano since she left. It sat in the corner of the living room like a ghost, its black lacquer dulled with dust, its keys untouched. Sometimes, in the deep hours of night, he imagined he could still hear her playing. Not the soft wedding melody she used to hum under her breath, but something raw, aching, filled with pain. He had made a mistake. No, he had made many. It wasn't just Elise. It was everything after. The silence when Amelia begged with her eyes, but said nothing. The cowardice of letting distance grow where a conversation should have been. The lie he told himself, that she would always be there, even as he drifted further away. Elise had left months ago. She had never really wanted him, not beyond the thrill. When Amelia found out and walked out, Elise disappeared too. Daniel had been left with a house they once dreamed of filling with laughter, and the unbearable echo of a love he had burned to the ground. He still remembered the look in Amelia's eyes when she saw the message. No shouting, no tears, just that deep, quiet disappointment, like a final door closing. Amelia, meanwhile, had found a rhythm in solitude. The apartment above the bookstore had low ceilings, creaky floors, and a window that faced a brick wall. But it was hers. Every morning, she opened the shop below, brewed coffee, taught music in the afternoons, and slowly stitched herself back into someone she recognized. There were still hard days, The kind when the memories were too loud. The way he used to stroke her hair as she drifted asleep, or the way they used to dance barefoot in the kitchen. But Amelia had learned something about pain. It doesn't leave quickly, but it does teach. It taught her to choose herself again. Then one Sunday in autumn, nearly a year after she left, she walked into a small concert hall to support one of her students. At the end of the performance, as people applauded, she turned, and there he was, Daniel, older, quieter, a hint of sorrow in his smile. They stood in silence for a moment, the crowd melting around them. "You look well," he said. Amelia nodded. "I am." He opened his mouth, then closed it. His hands fidgeted in his pockets, the way they always had when he was nervous. "I never stopped regretting what I did." "I know," she said softly. He searched her face, maybe hoping for some sign of forgiveness, of a second chance. But Amelia was no longer the woman who waited in doorways, hoping love would come home. "I was broken too," she said, her voice even. "But I put myself back together. Without you." Daniel nodded. Slowly, the final page turning between them. "I'm glad," he said, and he meant it. They parted without drama, without promises. Just two people who once built something sacred and then watched it fall. That night, Amelia returned home and lit a single candle by her window. She sat at her small, upright piano and began to play, not the song from her wedding, but something new, braver, stronger, the kind of music you make when your heart has shattered and healed, not into the shape it once was, but into something even more beautiful. A year passed. Amelia didn't mark the anniversary of her divorce. It came and went like a breeze through a half-open window. There and gone, life had unfolded quietly around her in those 12 months. Her apartment no longer felt like a pause. It was her home. The bookstore's owner, Marta, had slowly become like a mother. Her students grew. One of them, a shy girl named Alina, had just been accepted into a youth conservatory. "I couldn't have done it without you," Alina said the day she told her. Amelia smiled and thought, "You saved me too. All of you did." By spring, she took the biggest leap of all. She rented a small building in the Arts District, a faded yellow house with peeling paint but good bones and sunlight in every room. She named it the Violet Room, after her mother's favorite flower, and filled it with secondhand pianos, music stands, and shelves of worn sheet music. The Violet Room became a haven. Children laughed in its halls. Students cried when they hit the right note for first time, and adults, many of them as lost as she once was, came in search of something they couldn't name. Amelia found joy in building something from nothing. And then came him. His name was Julian. He arrived one rainy afternoon with his nephew, Leo, who was terrified of performing and wanted to quit after 2 lessons. Julian was tall, soft-spoken, with calloused hands and tired eyes. A carpenter, he said, built furniture out of reclaimed wood. He had a quiet steadiness that reminded her of silence, but not the lonely kind, the peaceful kind. He stayed while Leo practiced, sat in the corner with a book, always asked how her day had been, never pried. One evening, after everyone had left and the last note faded into the soft hum of dusk, Julian lingered. "I made something for the studio," he said. From the back of his truck, he pulled a piano bench, hand-carved, smooth, polished. On the underside, in small letters, he'd etched the words, "For the one who teaches others to find their voice again." Amelia's breath caught. He didn't push her, never crossed lines, but he was there, always there, until one evening, under a lilac sky and the scent of rain in the air, she reached for his hand. They didn't speak for a long time, just held still, and in that silence, she felt the echo of her past. Daniel, the wedding, the heartbreak, but it no longer haunted her. She had grieved. She had rebuilt. And now she was ready. Months later, a letter came in the mail. No return address. It simply read, "Amelia, I drove past the garden the other day. The flowers are still white. I thought of you and hoped you found peace. I will always carry the weight of what I did, but I'm glad you walked away. You deserve the music, not the silence. She read it once, then tucked into the back of her favorite Chopin book, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder that even broken things can become beautiful again, that vows may break, hearts may shatter, but some people write new songs. And Amelia, she was playing hers now, louder and freer than ever before.